I am excited to welcome you to Writing Tips. My name is Joseph Jacob. Our focus today is on pronoun. What is pronoun? A pronoun is a word used to replace a noun. Pronouns help us construct varied sentences, thereby eliminate unnecessary repetitions and make our sentences attractive. Consider this passage on William Tyndale. William Tyndale was an English biblical scholar and linguist. William Tyndale wanted everyone to have access to the Bible. William Tyndale spent his life translating the Bible, a noble cause that took William Tyndale's life. The sentences in this passage are correct. But are you not irritated or perhaps bored by the repetition of the name William Tyndale in this passage? Definitely you are. Let's rewrite the passage and introduce pronouns where necessary. William Tyndale was an English biblical scholar and linguist who wanted everyone to have access to the Bible. He spent his life translating the Bible, a noble cause that took his life. You will agree with me that the second passage is better. What does the second passage has that is lacking in the first passage? Pronouns. There are at least 10 types of pronoun. Let's consider them one after the other. Personal pronouns. Personal pronouns are pronouns that refer to specific individuals and groups. Let's look at some examples. I, me, she, her, he, him, they, them, you are all examples of personal pronouns. The second type of pronoun is the relative pronouns. They often introduce additional information about something mentioned in the sentence. They also connect relative clauses to independent clauses. They include words like that, what, which, who, whom. For example, the player who scored the last goal is my brother. Who scored the last goal is bringing additional information about the player. The third type of pronoun is the demonstrative pronouns. Demonstrative pronouns are used in place of nouns or noun phrases that has already been mentioned or is clear through the context of the sentence. They are words like that, this, these, and those. We're referring to something that is present, either physically or imaginary. You use this if it is just one, and these if they are more than one. When referring to an object that is not present, either physically or imaginary, you use that for one. If the objects you are talking about or people you are talking about are many, you use those. The fourth type of pronoun is the indefinite pronouns. Indefinite pronouns are used when you refer to a person or thing not specifically identified. Examples are when you use words like one, other, none, some, anybody, everybody. All these are examples of indefinite pronouns. The fifth type of pronoun is the reflexive pronouns. Reflexive pronouns are pronouns used to show that the subject and the object in a sentence are referring to the same person or persons, thing or things. They often end in self or selves. Examples are words like myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, oneself, ourselves, yourselves, themselves. Let's look at a similar type of pronoun called intensive pronouns as the sixth type of pronoun. They are very similar to reflexive pronouns, as I said earlier, but their purpose is different. While reflexive pronouns are used to show that the subject and the object are the same person, intensive pronouns are only used for emphasis. Let's look at these 4 sentences and see whether we can differentiate between reflexive and intensive pronouns. The armed robber mistakenly shot himself. I can do the job myself. I did the assignment myself. The guests served themselves. If you look at these 4 sentences, you will notice that we have pronouns, and sometimes we may find it difficult to differentiate between reflexive pronouns and intensive pronouns. So how do we know which one is reflexive and which one is intensive? One basic rule you will use to know is whenever you remove the pronoun and the sentence fail to make a complete sense, then that pronoun is reflexive. But if you remove the pronoun and yet the sentence can stand on its own, then you know that it is an intensive pronoun just for the sake of emphasis. Now, our first example, the armed robber mistakenly shot. If you remove himself, it will not make sense. The only way to make the sentence complete and meaningful is when you add himself. The armed robber mistakenly shot himself. So, the himself in this example is a reflexive pronoun. Number 2, I can do the job myself. If you remove myself and say I can do the job, the sentence is complete and correct and can stand on its own. So the myself there is only for emphasis. So the pronoun myself in the second sentence is just an intensive pronoun for the sake of emphasis. Example number 3, I did the assignment myself. I did the assignment. It can stand on its own without myself. So the myself on the third example is an intensive pronoun meant for only emphasis. Example number 4, the guests served themselves. If we remove themselves, the sentence will read, the guests served. Does it make any meaning? No. You need themselves to make the sentence meaningful. So themselves in this last sentence is a reflexive pronoun showing that the guests and the themselves are the same person. So it must be part of the sentence to make it meaningful. Hoping that you've grabbed these important points, let's go over to the 7th type of pronoun. It is called possessive pronouns. As their name implies, possessive pronouns are pronouns that show possession. They include words like my, your, our, their, his, her, its. There are also other types of possessive pronoun called independent possessive pronouns. They are words like mine, yours, ours, his, hers, theirs, its. Now, why are they called independent possessive pronouns? They are called such because when you use one of them, you drop the noun it's referring to. Look at this example. Amaka lost her pen, so I gave her mine. If I had used my, my, it would have been Amaka lost her pen, so I gave her my pen. I will still repeat the pen. But because mine is an independent possessive pronoun, I don't need to add the pen again. So Amaka lost her pen, so I gave her mine. The eighth type of pronoun is the interrogative pronouns. Interrogative pronouns are used in questions. The interrogative pronouns are who, what, which, whose. But remember that interrogative pronouns are functionally different from interrogative adjectives. While interrogative pronouns substitute a noun, interrogative adjective modifies nouns. That is why interrogative adjectives are always followed by a noun. Consider this example. What are you reading? The what in this sentence is an interrogative pronoun. But the second one, what book are you reading? You will notice the noun book immediately after the what. So the what in this second sentence is an interrogative adjective. Let's go to the ninth type of pronoun, reciprocal pronouns. Anytime something is done or given in return, reciprocal pronouns are used. It is also used to express mutual action. There are only two reciprocal pronouns. They are each other and one another. Look at these two examples. Becker and Ederson are competing with each other for Brazil's first choice goalkeeper. Notice the word each other. Now look at the second sentence. The defenders are blaming one another for letting the opponent score. In this second sentence, we use one another, not each other. So the big question is there a difference between each other and one another? The answer is yes. When you are comparing two persons, when you're talking about two persons, like in the first sentence, we are talking about Becker, Liverpool's goalkeeper, and Ederson, Manchester City's goalkeeper. There are only two persons. We use each other. But when we are talking about more than two persons, you use one another. In the second sentence, the defenders may be 3 or 4. So they are not blaming each other because they are not just two persons. They are blaming one another because they are now more than two. Let's look at the 10th type of pronoun, distributive pronouns. Distributive pronouns refer to people, animals, and objects as individuals within large groups. What they do is that they enable you to single out individuals while acknowledging that they are part of a large group. Distributive pronouns include words like either, each, neither, any, none. This is where the cookies crumble on today's video. Our next video will focus on adjectives. Bye-bye.